Coach, I heard you may have been up to Indianapolis. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, a couple of times here in the last 2 days. Took our staff to Carb Day on Friday, which was awesome, and really enjoyed that experience, and then got a chance to go back to the race. First one was really, really good a year ago. I thought this one was even better, and just love what the race represents for our whole state, and just the ability to draw that type of attention to Indiana, and obviously the race itself was pretty exciting all the way from start to finish, and just a lot of great people. Brad Money, one of our former players, is a guy that really takes great care of us and has a sponsorship of one of the cars there in the 500 race. So just love being a part of our home state and what it represents.
Did you ever go up and talk to the Colts organization or have
Just spent the afternoon there today. So I was there last week and was there again today. So really impressed with what Coach Reich's building there, the way he's doing it. Chris Ballard, the GM, has been extremely just first class with our program, and open arms to allow us to be able to have access to them and watch them practice and meet with their coaches, and we're going to really take full advantage of that. So we've got two world-class organizations real close.
It's kind of the annual question, but you got guys starting to report here. I think you've been tweeting about it. Do you expect everybody in kind of at the freshman report times? Is there anybody who might have to lean back a little bit?
Well, we have most of our guys will be in tomorrow, so that'll be an exciting day for us to get them moved into their dorms and get a chance to get their physicals and orientation and all that. So they'll start class on Monday, and we'll start lifting on Monday and running. And so that'll be the majority of the guys. Then we have another wave in 2 weeks. 4 or 5 more guys will be, the final 4 or 5 will be coming then. As is always the case, you got a couple guys that have to do some final work, so we'll know for sure on them here in a couple of weeks. But overall, really excited about the guys coming and anxious to get them here, and texting many of them as they tell me when they're landing and taking off, and putting that out there as well. But a special group of guys that can't wait to get on campus.
Coach, last year, the new rule allowing players to play 4 games without burning a red shirt year. Who are some of the guys that really benefited from that and may see a substantial amount of playing time this year because of that experience?
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind, James Miller got a chance to play later in the year and without burning his red shirt. And I think of that one huge play he had against Michigan, just kind of just showing the skill set that he had, the toughness, the ability to make plays in that venue as a true freshman. Great to be able to let him do that and then still have 4 more years, you know. So Miles Marshall's another guy, got a chance to get his feet wet out there a little bit and then still have a chance to play 4 games. Mass Norris got a chance to get him to run down some kickoffs and get him a chance to experience the game day opportunity, and then still once again have a chance to play. And so those are the guys that come to mind. But it's a great rule. You know, we utilize it to the fullest. You never really know how a guy is going to handle his freshman year, how they're going to respond to the transition, and be able to really truly compete and play for the 4 games. Sometimes it's more than that, and then if that's the case, obviously they're helping you quite a bit. So I think that we have a set group of guys this year that you kind of have put in that category, and then we'll know after fall camp and then into the season how that's going to shake out.
Coach, how about Michael Penix, a guy that played a lot last year, got some opportunity? How's his knee doing? Any update on the QB room as a whole?
Yeah, just we met with the staff this morning, and feel really, really good about his progress. And he's right on schedule where we expected him to be. In his movement, May was really big for us in his next step of progression to be able to get him 100% back to full speed. So our medical staff feels really good that he's where he needs to be right now. So he'll be 100% by the fall, but he's really, really close with that right now. And so just really encouraged by the way he's handled that, because it's really the ability for those guys to dive into that rehab and handle it the proper way really determines their recovery, you know, and you can't take anything for granted with that. And even though we've gotten better and better with ACL surgeries medically, the effort they put into the rehab is really the key to how quickly they can come back. So really excited about his progress and how hard he's worked in the weight room, and needs to have a huge June and July. And the whole room itself is as healthy as it's been since I've been around this place, and having those 3 guys come out of spring and all have opportunities to compete. Obviously, you know, Peyton is the returning starter, and they're going to have to beat him out. I know that's his mindset, which is the way it should be, and he's continued to work extremely hard. And all 3 of them, Jack's, gotten back. He's 100% now, and had a really good month of May. Feels great, looks great. So all 3 guys right now are ready to have a highly, effective June and July and go into fall camp to compete to be the man.
You've had plenty of time now to look through all your spring film. What did you really like, and what do you need to work on?
Well, what I liked was I felt like defensively, with having a new defensive coordinator and not changing the scheme, but just doing some things differently. I thought I loved the way we flew around, loved the speed that I saw after watching all the film. You take a step back, objectively watch the group work. I liked the number of guys that flashed and made plays, and whether it's on the defensive line, a lot of different guys' names there, linebackers, a lot of different guys there, secondary, a lot of different guys there. So that encouraged me, but still need to work on the physical strength and depth of our defensive line. That's a big priority. Offensively, really encouraged by the rapid, I'd say, growth of putting in a new offense with Kalen DeBoer as the new offensive coordinator, and just like the things that we're able to do. I like the flexibility and multiplicity I see us being able to have with our system, and maximizing our roster there. Another area of concern, I guess, would just be the depth on offensive line and the strength of that group. So, but once again, that's a big priority. We knew already coming into the summer. So June and July, that's going to be another part. I thought they had a great offensive line, had a great month of May, which is just a really discretionary time that they have to do. We can't require them to be there, but the guys know what's at stake. They know how hard they worked, and there was a great work ethic by the offensive line this past month. And so that's a tribute to Coach DeBoer, leader of the offense, and Coach Hiller, our offensive line coach, and our strength staff. So I feel like that Miles Marshall is one that continues to impress me with his work ethic. Another guy that I mentioned already about from the season, but just really like his mindset right now. And Nick Westbrook, another one, just really rising up and being a leader. The 3 senior offensive linemen have been excellent, like you would expect them to be, showing that leadership every day, showing up and doing extra things. They had the most workouts of anybody on our whole team with those 3 guys in the month of May, and that just shows you where they're at mentally and how much this means to them and how hard they're working. The running back room is a room that I like right now. They have to keep working hard, and you better be on your toes and looking over your shoulder, because there's a lot of guys in there that can take your job if you're not doing all the little things right. So that to me is what sticks out, is just the number of individuals that we have. We're starting to create some depth, need more. That has to continue with recruiting, but bringing in this recruiting class and getting those guys here this summer is exciting, and just knowing that that's what we're going to have to do to be able to be where we want to be, which is have the quality depth that you need to finish out games and then finish out the season.
Talked about the importance of recruiting the state. How about this region, kind of southern Indiana, Kentucky, southern Ohio? Good players here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we just basically, we want to make Indiana a huge priority, and that will not change. And whether it's southern Indiana, central Indiana, northern Indiana, don't have the population in some of these spots, but you want to do a great job of making sure that we are very thorough and we find all the guys that we need to get to camp. We have our first camp coming up on Saturday, which would be a huge opportunity to get guys on campus and see them compete. And whether that's guys in this region, Southern Ohio, try to really do a much better job than Cincinnati. For me, is an area that I feel like we and put some more resources into this past off season, more than in the past, because of the number of players in that region. And always want to do a great job of doing this around the states and doing a great job being thorough.
One thing you're doing differently this summer is, instead of giving players instructions for their individual workouts, you're just making it player-led. I guess what goes into that? I mean, obviously it's a discretionary period, and you guys can't directly supervise those workouts and things like that. But why the move to make it player-led instead of you guys again giving that?
Well, number one, we've always had portions of it player-led. We're actually doing more of it player-led. Actually having some meetings that will be player-led, and that's for the purpose of growing leaders. I just think that we continue to have the challenge of the way our young men are raised, with social media the way that it is. It's really easy to kind of be isolated, not verbally communicate like maybe some of us were forced to do in the past in your upbringing. And so I think we have to be more assertive with that, with our preparation. And so what it's forced us to do is we've doubled our player practices this summer, and I'm going to give a chance for our players to run some of those meetings when we get into July. And so we're allowed to run the meetings as a staff without, you can really do things with them in a certain time period as long as you don't have a football and other equipment. But we're choosing to use that meeting time in June with coaches, in July with players, and then expanding our player practices where they just have to lead. We're not allowed to be out there. The strength staff is supervising it like they are allowed to legally, but we're not allowed to be out there at all. And so you have to have a strong group of leadership to do that. And I like our seniors, and we don't have very many of them. There's only 12, but the 12 that we have are highly vested, and are guys that have seen the negative benefits of us not having enough verbal leadership, and I think that's causing these guys to be ready to rise up and say, now is the time for me to take this thing over and do it the right way.
Going into the summer, what position group do you feel is the strongest position group that has the most ground that it had to make?
Oh, strongest, well, I would say overall, both sides of the ball, strongest in terms of depth and high-end players, and is our secondary. They kind of sticks out to me. We've got some, better depth across the board in a lot of positions, but that's the one that just kind of jumps out after watching all the spring film. I can mention other groups as well, but that's the one that's the most to me. And then I would just say the depth in our defensive line is a concern, and I've shared that with offense, but especially just we got some young guys that got to step up, and that's why getting them here in June, having a great month of June, getting them in July in that weight room. We have such I love our strength staff. They do an amazing job. So getting them with them as much as possible is going to be huge, And so we play in the Big Ten. It's big boy football, and it's you got to have a lot of beef up front that can move. And so having enough mass and having enough strong guys in the box is really, really critical for us. And so, and it can't just be one group. It's got to be multiple. We got to be able to roll those guys through, keep them fresh, and that to me continues to be a concern. We address it. We talk about it as a staff, and I want our players to understand that that's the focus.
Coach, you have several guys that could probably start at running back. How do you foresee keeping everybody happy there?
Well, keeping everybody happy is probably not the objective. I think the objective is that we're successful as a team. I understand what you're saying, and I know that when you establish a culture of LEO, which really, to me, when we talk about loving each other and we say we don't care who gets credit because it's not about me, that's what I want, because selfishness is what would kill your football team. And so, but I get it. If I'm a running back, I want to carry the football. If I'm a receiver, I want to catch the football. And so you recruit these guys, and we got a freshman coming in that scored 60 touchdowns, his senior year. So that young man has been used to carrying the ball a lot. And so you have to be able to teach them and train them to have a role to play, but yet you want them hungry enough to never be satisfied with that role, but also to be content within it, to be able to be at your best. And so to me, that's the challenge of our coaching staff, is to lead and motivate. And as we develop depth on our team and we develop more position competition, which we're seeing more and more all the time, that's going to be a rising issue. And so, but at the same time, that's what we have to have. That's what we need to be able to do. And so that excites me. Definitely a challenge. Coach Hart's got to be able to do a great job of helping the guys understand that if you want to have opportunities to touch the football, you better do all those things right. And if you don't, someone's going to take your place. And so I think that room's indicative of that. And so we just got to, allows us to keep guys fresh, allows us to be able to keep the wear and tear off of their bodies, for their own future, which I think is a big selling point when you talk about in recruiting. You like to be able, the days of a guy carrying the ball 30 times a game, it really doesn't happen, and I think guys or even programs are understanding that, even to help guys for their future. To be able to finish their college career and then be able to have good mileage left on them when they go pro. So, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we create an unselfish football team that wants to do what's best for the team and helps this team be successful.
All right. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Have a great day.